Father God, we look to you today, and we're mindful of those that have suffered loss in the Vegas area, and we pray for those that are hurting. We pray you just watch over us and direct our meeting today. We pray for your wisdom as we make decisions for our county and constituents. Be with those in uniform and those who protect us. And in all ways, may we give you the praise. In Christ's name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, the first meeting in a month, so let's get back in business. We have two payroll claims. First of all, minutes. So approve those first.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Two payroll claims, number 19 and 20. Number 19 is totals $214,330.85. Payroll number 20 was $216,014.65. We had claims totaling through September the 18th of $330,468.75. And claims for October 2nd here totaling $573,211.77.
Motion to approve payroll and claims.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
0. Okay, perfect. Let's just move into Monty.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We have 96 inmates, 17 are F6 DOC, and 4 are DOC. The other thing I have is apologize, but this project happened real quick. In April, I had gotten 4 bids to just get an idea what it would take to pave the west parking lot. It kind of surprised me, the range of bids, but we found out that I had money set aside for a payment on our security system we're having installed right now. And we found out that the payment will not be till next June, and that's already in the budget. So I called and asked the lowest bidder if that bid was still available, and he said it was. So, and they could be there the next week. So and also I got thank Josh Cotton for County Highway helped us. They hauled the dirt out and hauled stone in and saved us $1,650 off the bill. So, if you haven't seen it, come out and see. I think the company did a real good job.
Great.
On it.
Good.
Thanks, Molly.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Monty.
Thank you.
Okay. Josh.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Pretty quick. Chip and seals complete for this year. Finished River Road last week, so we're good there. South part of the county, we're doing the hand patching right now on all the roads down there. Probably a few more weeks of that, then we'll be on the north end of the county. The backhoe crew, now that chip and seal's done, is back up. We hammered out a bunch of stuff on the north side of 124. We have about 3 more jobs to do. One's larger, that 700 North project that will be starting tomorrow. So that'll take about a week. But once those are done, then we'll be moving south with the backhoe crew and get all the stuff down there done. Still have 2 aluminum structures to install. They are being built. They're supposed to be built a couple weeks ago, but that was delayed. So they will be built next week, and then we'll get those installed. 1 box culvert north of Uniondale should be done the end of this month. It's ready at the factory, just waiting on the contractor to request delivery for that. The new mowing tractor's now here in service, been out on the road for 2 weeks. The old one's gone, thank goodness. 900 West is one of our 2 big road conversion projects. We have drawings for that now. We've had a meeting with Nate and I and the grader operators and everybody. So we will be starting that probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks on 9 West, kind of waiting for crops to get off and all that stuff. Probably going to do something a little different on that. In years past, we would pay a contractor to come in to tear out all the trees. This year, I'll probably rent a little dozer myself and have one of our guys run the dozer. It's a lot cheaper than paying someone else, and we control that schedule, not waiting on someone else. And plus, that little dozer could work on a lot of other of the grading rather than, use a grader if we don't have to. So other than that, everything's just rolling right along.
Great.
Anything new?
No news is good news, right?
Yeah, I like it that way.
Thanks, Josh.
Great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Nate's next.
All right. Well, 4 weeks leaves a lot, so I had to squeeze quite a bit of notes here into one page. Quick rundown. I regret to inform you that as of September 20th, we were not awarded funds for community crossings from our application. I did have an opportunity to meet with NDOT. You had a letter from NDOT essentially documenting that and encouraging us to apply again. A major part of it came down to the fact that there were over $260 million in applications for what was $150 million. So between the projects that we've gotten before and the money we have, and just the sheer glut of applications, we were declined this year. But after meeting with some of the people that scored our projects, they encouraged us to apply again.
That was nice of them.
Yeah, so gave us some information about it, but certainly I'm disappointed considering the amount of effort that went into the application. There was a lot of encouragement about what we applied for, and I think after sitting down with them one-on-one, they were kind of surprised with what information I presented to them that wasn't part of the application process. Some items as far as permitting and our availability.
Almost makes you think they were looking for an easy way out. Pretty much that's what happened.
Much of it was if they had any reason to try to throw projects
Right.
out, they were taking the easy route to
They did.
to toss them. So, which is too bad. I think that they realized that they threw out good projects with ours after that. It might be an opportunity for us to come back for other grant opportunities through the state. And that's something that I have here. Certainly, I'm not discouraged. As a program, we're still well ahead of where we have been over the last 5 years. We've got quite a few bridge projects in the works. Tomorrow we bid 2 projects with funds for next year. So we're certainly on a good track. Not as fast as I'd like to be, but we're making good strides. I think we've got a better chance next year with this, but certainly a disappointment nonetheless. I think it speaks for everybody in the county.
Well, I want you to know I appreciate your efforts. I really do.
Well,
It's
thank
just
you.
very
Yeah,
unfortunate that the state of Indiana looks at some of these projects around the state and just an easy way out because everybody knows it.
And that's too bad. I think the residents are hurt by it, and certainly I'm not going to let that discourage me from going after more money for the county. I think take that as my role, so I'll certainly continue to do that for you.
Thanks.
Keep up the good work.
Update then just on Bridge 66 and 18B. Bid openings tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I've got a good interest in the project. I've got 9 bidders as far as plan holders for Bridge 18, and I've got 8 for Bridge 66.
Beautiful.
So if I even get half that many bids, I think we're in a pretty good position. So remains to be seen. Your next meeting, I'll have a bid tab and apparent low bidders to present for your approval at the next meeting. So we'll know where we're going to go for those 2 projects. We'll be looking at moving forward on other projects. Again, like I said, we've got these two projects we wouldn't apply for community crossings next year. Probably the next month or 2, I'll put together another plan for community crossings 2018's application. So I'll pass that around to you over the next month or 2, and winter's the good planning time frame. So it'd be something for you all to consider. Certainly our consultants will be looking for work, and I'll want to make sure that I have a good list of projects to move forward. So you have, Blake's got a packet with pay applications, updates on our last 2 community crossings projects. The County Road Bridge 2B on 700 North east of 600 East. Project's done, complete and open.
Final project cost for that were $391,811.97. That is an increase of about $12,670, about 3.3% from the bid price. We're still well below the original project award. So the money that we set aside and NDOT set aside, that was well over $500,000. So we're certainly not adding money to the project, but that was a result of additional piling length that was needed. Some asphalt unit quantities were some increase, and we didn't have an opportunity to deduct some items as what you'll see with Bridge 203B. So what I've signed off is recommending approval for both the change order and the pay application number 1. That doesn't include the retainage. We'll hold on to the retainage until after the grass is seeded on that. So once I know that that's in good shape, then I'll process the final pay application to close that project out.
Okay, so moved.
Is that a blue ink?
Second.
Yeah. I would use blue ink on those, yes.
Signature by Blake only,
Yes.
to be signed by the president.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Need a second? Yes.
I'll give you a moment.
I tip.
All right. On Bridge 203B, that's County Road 1000 South, east of 600. I have 600 east, that's not
I
600
don't
east.
need to sign anything on the back page of that,
No,
do I?
no, just those two signature lines. So just outside of Keystone, this Bridge 203. That project is also complete and open. The project complete with a final cost of $297,291.10. This is a decrease of about $40,716.22. So we actually reduced the project by just about 12%. That was from a variety of items that we discovered on Bridge 2 that we were able to apply on 203 since I had the same contractor. So we changed some grout, epoxy grout. That was a $7,000 savings. We were able to save some money on the asphalt because we changed some of the thicknesses on that. So at the end of the project, we also had reductions in steel piling because we hit rock earlier than we had originally estimated. So things went well for that. I'm glad we did that project last, or we wouldn't have saved that much. Between the two projects, our total net savings was $28,045.37. Half of that we get to keep, so that goes back into the lower redistribution amount that we had. The other half goes back to NDOT. So we'll end up, when we finish these up and I make the final payout, we'll end up closing those two projects out with the state. We'll end up having to reimburse them. They tell us about 30 days, so we'll have to watch that. Once that official pay application goes through, we'll have about a month to get that all done. So overall, I think between the two projects, I think big wins for us. I did report that and rub it into NDOT a little bit. We were well along, so
Those are done.
those are done. So, but that said, item number 4, and I'm not sure if you want me to show these or roll these out. These are updates to the functional classification map. Following our review of the Wells County Corridors plan, there's modifications that we needed to make to the functional classification maps. Roads that were not listed, just listed as local roads, aren't eligible for federal funds unless they're on this functional classification map. The 2015 map was the last map that we had updated. Those weren't shown. To try to make certain projects eligible for federal funds, they need to show up on that classification map. So this map includes those. That includes portions of 300 South, 450 East, and so that kind of ties that network together of getting some of those corridors on that mapping. So, but to have Dan Avery from NERC proceed with their board's adoption of it and then submitting that to NDOT for approval, I need the county commissioner's approval on that in the minutes. I can send that off to Dan and move forward. So I don't know if you want to review those, maybe act on it next meeting. Obviously, the sooner the better, just to help us get that.
Since
in
Josh
place.
is here, you sat through the corridor project meeting. Did you have any opinions, thoughts?
Not really. I mean, it definitely uses the roads that it needs to use.
Okay.
You know, with 1 East and everything. And there's minor details in there about what, but it's all, being that it's grant, it's a lot up to the state on what,
Right.
you know, at 1 and 3 North, for example, what's the right solution there?
Correct.
They want roundabouts everywhere. Personally, I think that would be not such a great option.
Yeah, well, we'll cross that bridge, but I mean, at
but
least
it's
the,
little things like that, you know,
Right.
that's really going to be an NDOT situation.
Yeah, those,
But overall, yeah, it looks
Yeah.
fine.
yeah, those specific elements, this wouldn't necessarily dictate how we do the improvements. What we're doing is we're trying to identify the specific lines or road corridors that we create. And then all of those through the process, and anything that's listed in there, we're talking decades in the future. Even the first project we may try to even do would still be as far as 5 years out. We may do pieces, but certainly this is to get the long-range plan developed. That becomes one of the first pieces, certainly.
So this doesn't lock us into anything specific?
We don't have
only
to
the
do
routes?
anything. What this does is it makes other locations that we're looking for improvement eligible. So we need to start there.
You want to go ahead and approve them now? Or do you want to look at them?
I'm good.
Motion to approve.
Second.
favorite, easy route, let's keep it going.
Yep, sorry. You have an unofficial detour route for State Road 218. I've got the application packet from the state there. I would need your signatures and approval on that. I can return that to the state.
This is on 5
It's 5 and
East
6 East, I
6
believe.
East. And all of us.
Yeah, using
So
550
you're
south as a
detouring to the
detour.
north.
Yep.
And then coming back out on lot 1?
No, it's
Oh, 6, the other way,
Yep. So
Okay.
that's farther east.
farther east.
So
Okay.
they just need that approval, and then they can put the
And
barricades
those are-
and the unofficial detour
Is it
signs for
concealed?
that.
It's not
Yes,
gravel.
correct.
Sounds good.
Motion to approve.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
I think Roger may mention this, the ADA compliance review of the website. I just wanted to make a note of that. It sounds like we've got some of that lined up, that you've had a chance to review their Bonsego's contract, so I'll skip over that then. NDOT has advertised a call for federal aid projects. Now, this is a different program, obviously, than community crossings. Federal aid process is a long process. We just finished up Bridge 193 with the rehab and painting of that and structural improvements on that bridge. That's usually meant for projects of historic significance, very large, high cost, lots of planning, environmental reviews, complicated projects that couldn't be done in a one-year phase. I have proposals from, I got a written contract from one consultant from USI to look at what is Bridge 106. It's out in Rock Creek Township outside of Rockford. It's a historic select double arch bridge. Because of its proximity to a cemetery and the like, there's really nothing that we could do with our seated budget that would be able to tackle a project that size. So I'm certainly looking at that as one of our projects. If you're interested in applying, I just need to know if we want to proceed with. I had initially looked at like the White Bridge, but after discussion with NDOT, they're telling me that it would not be found eligible because of its overall condition is too high. It's not bad enough yet. Another project that we might want to consider is part of the Hoosier Highway. That also is a large-scale project looking at traffic and transportation improvements and some planning in that phase. So certainly that's something else that I would like to pose as a possibility. I've been told from Butler Fairman that they would be willing to put together the scoping documents and the engineering and cost estimates for that project for a not-to-exceed amount of $4,500. So between the two, we'd have a not-to-exceed about $6,500 in planning developed for that, for those two projects as separate applications to the state at this call.
So you'd run USI on one and Butler Fairman on the other?
Correct. Now, you're essentially, by signing contracts with them, that means they're still eligible potentially to apply through the federal aid because
Right.
part of the federal aid pays for the engineering. So they've got a narrow scope to help supplement this. Because we haven't had an opportunity to develop these long-term, I don't have a laundry list of federal aid projects developed at this point. So we're trying to do those in fairly short order. The call closes, I believe, November 22nd. It opens this Friday and closes the 22nd of November. So we have a fairly narrow window to put together our plan and scope. There would be an interview with the state prior to actually being selected. They would bring us in, we'd talk about the projects. We'd pick one over the other potentially as our primary and secondary, but that improves our odds of being selected. Certainly by being overlooked in the community crossings, we may have some better opportunities at going for this federal aid call. The money from this for construction is not available until 2023. So all the planning goes on for a long time. Every year you skip, it pushes it out. So
Well, if we choose this, will it make us ineligible if we would move that up through a community crossing matching grant or do it through CEDA?
if you're trying to do these, part of these reasons to do these projects through federal aid is because they're too large for community crossings or
Gotcha.
CEDA.
Gotcha.
So both of these projects are well over the $1 million mark all on their own. I think even the bridge project is probably in the range of $2 million because of the planning that needs to go on. You've got months of environmental investigation, which we would have to pay solely out of our own pocket. The return on investment for that bridge would be a bad investment for us. That's why it's not been dealt with until now. It needs federal money.
What's
to
the
make it happen.
urgency on the bridge?
Simply because it's a fairly low sufficiency rating for us.
Not why, just what was your time frame?
I was looking at doing this bridge initially based on sufficiency in 2019, 2020. It's in poor shape now. It's from a width and geometry, it's a very poor condition. The issue is when I started looking at the actual what I'd have to do to it, by being Historic Select and participating in the State Historic Preservation Office's program, we have to do certain things to that. By selecting bridges like that, it keeps them off of every other bridge. They ignore the other bridges. They've just got a short list. We're essentially compelled by staying in the program to maintain structures like that.
I think it makes sense, the two that you have picked out, and I would motion to proceed to the next step of having each one of those companies investigate what it would take to do that.
Appreciate that.
Second.
Not to exceed, what was the amount?
It was $2,000 for the Bridge 106 with USI and $4,500 for the, I guess, for lack of a better term, I'll call it the Hoosier Highway.
Okay.
So,
And you give me permission to sign the one and
and then you would need
when
permission when the other one
comes in
contract is
between the next
together.
meeting.
Yes.
So,
That was all part of my motion. Didn't you hear that?
Yeah.
I got it all.
so you got that, Beth, right?
Man, I don't know. So you approved
We
both of them
approved
for them
USI for two.
and approved to allow you to sign
To
the,
sign the proposal
Okay.
for USI, and then give me permission if that proposal from BF&S comes before the next meeting.
And I'm sure it will. All right, last two items, and then I'm running along here. County Bridge Conference, I'll be going down there with Tim Barkey from Adams County for October 17th and 18th. It's a two-day conference I'd mentioned last meeting, so I thought I'd just bring that up. So, and then the last item is we have a large stack of right-of-way dedications. So 4 weeks allows us to get about a 1-inch stack of different right-of-ways in. I'm sure there's quite a few more that are on their way, but we've got some motivated individuals that want us to proceed with those projects going into next year. So,
Okay. Motion to approve and accept the right-of-ways. Rights of way, sorry.
Second, in favor?
Aye.
Zero.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I have a question.
Yes.
When does that 218 D4 go into effect?
So I'd have to look at the dates on that. I think that's next spring.
Next spring?
We need.
Okay.
Believe so.
Must do
but I
18
haven't-
project.
I haven't looked
Very
at the paperwork.
full harvest then, huh?
What date does it have on there?
Tentatively to begin in the early spring of 2018.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Actually, I can take that then.
Back. Roger.
Morning.
Good morning.
Something that Nate mentioned a little bit was the website ADA compliance. Just to bring everyone up to date, I think maybe he did talk about it a time before, but the website is one of the public-facing things that needs to be compliant so that people with disabilities are able to get the information they need without, themselves, and things are easy to navigate there. And there is a legal requirement to do this. There are different federal rules about this. So our website is large now. Every department has its own page or multiple pages on the site, and I approached our website designer, and he didn't really want to try to tackle it, meeting this ADA compliance. There's a lot of rules and some confusing methods of becoming compliant. So we have gotten into a contract with a company called Moncito. We took bids from different places, and they are the ones that have the best value, I think, for the cost. And it's automatic scanning software that automatically goes through each page and tells us where problem areas are, and we're able to then remedy using their software and try to move toward compliance. Since we're always adding new things to the site, it's kind of an ongoing thing. This would scan it once a week so that we can tell the progress we're making, and we need to be able to document that progress too, to be in accordance with the law. Other things that we've been up to, we're in the process of upgrading Office software on different computers from 2007 versions to 2016. Different offices still have that old version, and there's some that's going to cause problems in the future with our email if we don't get that taken care of. But that's all budgeted for, and we're just down to the last few of those. We're in the process of replacing all the desktops in the health department, all the workstations there. None of the laptops, but they were about 7 years old, and they were able to get a little bit of grant money to help with that. We're about halfway through that process. We've been helping with the security project in the jail. We had to set up a new computer relatively quickly because of, I guess, the contractor didn't realize that there was a really old computer that would be running some of the cameras, and they needed to have that taken care of. So we got that in about a day. We were able to get a computer ready for that, and we've been helping with some of the things that they've been doing in the server room there. I guess since the last time I was in front of you guys, we worked with Stylus to get the camera system in the annex all set up and taken care of. And the last thing is we've been planning for end of year and next year's network and phone upgrades. So that's kind of the rundown.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
I don't see Mike here.
You guys got the email in regards to that property in Veracruz? Would we want to make a decision, or do we want to wait for him to come?
Do we want to get him? Oh, no, where is that? Here. I'll have my staff call.
We have to adopt the travel
Yeah,
reimbursement.
yeah. Let me send an email. Sorry.
So is this the same project and funding that we already had approved? Correct.
Correct.
So about 150. if I remember correctly.
What's that?
It was like 150 that was approved a
The
year ago.
mitigation type stuff.
Mhm.
I think
And
his,
that got all reworked.
And, yeah, so basically there was only one that we could do with it rather than, because we're already obligated to spend the money, I believe, the way I understood it. Did you understand it, Roy? Or did you get
Sorry,
that part?
The mitigation, I think we were going to use CEDA money to spend to buy properties out of the floodplain.
I haven't seen
But-
anything
okay, you
on
didn't
it
see
for
one.
quite some time.
Because Mike had reduced it down to one property. I think it was only one property. That,
Right.
Because it didn't cover all of the ones that we had applied for.
This
I
makes
think we need him
sense.
here to
This-
explain
yeah,
it.
I just sent him a text to come down. Let's
Yeah, I
maybe move into
told my
other business or monthly
staff to
business
call.
until he comes
Okay.
down, so.
see what all I got
Get ready for that one, Doctor.
here. The travel and reimbursement policy, I think I sent that to you, and it's going to go before the council tomorrow night. It has different things in it that kind of commissioners oversee, and council still has to approve on the mileage, so that's why we always have both boards approve that. But we had talked to changing the mileage rate. What we currently use is the federal rate, but this new policy would adopt using the state rate for reimbursement on mileage,
Which is less.
which is quite a bit less.
Right.
Yes. So if you,
Motion to accept is presented. What is it, like 38 cents a mile now?
yeah,
Down from what, 50?
54 for the federal rate and like 38 for the state rate. So we'll just follow the state rate, which I think sometimes it fluctuates, a couple times a year, but we just thought it was best to follow that one.
Second.
So a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
0.
Okay, I have 1, 2, 3 copies to sign. Pass those down.
There it is.
All right. Mike, if you want to come before us?
Yep.
Hi. Good morning.
Morning.
What I want to talk to you about, as we've been moving through the process of the FEMA buyout grant, 2 homes that were in the Veracruz area, we've hit a little roadblock, which I need your guidance on which direction you'd want us to proceed. I did email you the one option, and I want to talk about a second one that we've been talking about here as well. So initially, there's 2 properties that we're looking at buying out. The funding was approved. Everything moving around smoothly. Got our appraisals done. Appraised values came up higher than what was expected. So we have found ourselves looking at 2 different options. One, we could accept the higher appraisal amounts and do a buyout for what we would consider the higher priority property, which is what I described in the email. So basically cut the budget expectation in half, and then add a little bit more for the additional costs because of the higher appraised value. The second option, I've been working with my counterpart that does the buyout applications for the Maumee River Basin Commission, as well as with the state, and looking at an alternative route, describing what fair market value is for the homes, using the assessed value numbers, and using our budget. There's an alternative way to make an offer to both properties to see if they'd be willing to accept a number that wasn't necessarily the average of the 2 appraised values. So with that, we're looking for your guidance on how you would want to proceed. Do you want us to try to accomplish the full goal of the grant and go after it and see if that one or both of them would accept the alternative number route, and it would basically be riding with the budget that we were expecting from the beginning? Or do we want to hold to the appraised value and buy out one of the
Who did the
properties?
appraisals? I'm just curious.
Yeah, Joe Wetrick and Kent Spur. Mm-hmm.
What was the
So
total
one was high and
amount?
one was low.
What was the total amount of the grant?
They're both very similar to each other. Neither
Appraisals
they're
were both similar,
Yeah.
but higher than anticipated.
yes. Mhm.
What was our total amount set aside for this?
What was the total amount for what the
county
what the
pledged.
county was supposed to pledge
Right.
was in the mid-40s.
For both of them?
Yeah, for both
Total.
of them. Yeah. If we would do the buyout with the appraisals, it would double what you were expecting to pay if we would go after both of them, because FEMA will only match what's in the budget. So we can either look at the alternative route, which would be using the money in the budget to the maximum potential, or I guess there is the option of going over the budget amount when didn't think that was a reality, or looking at buying the most important one. The thing we don't want to do is turn the whole money back,
Right.
because we'll never get a FEMA grant again
Right.
Right.
if we don't use it.
So my gut feeling initially
Or
says,
did they maximize? Or are you thinking the opposite?
well, I'm thinking to go to get something, the money we have, to
Yeah.
move it forward and at least get one.
Yeah.
But if they
We-
decline the offer, you can always go back and offer one, can you not?
We can do that. That's one of the things that we possibly could do, is we could try to utilize our budget, the option that we're working on, and I can email you the specifics once we
Right.
get it
And who decides?
all
The
knocked
homeowner?
down. What?
Who decides? The homeowner? If they accept or not?
From the very beginning, this is a voluntary project on both ends, from the county's end and from the respective seller. So this project is, any one of us or them can walk away from the project at any time when they feel that it's not in their interest to do it. From the perspective of FEMA and the state, they would rather see us exhaust our options. Even if the result ended up with no buyouts, they would rather see us walk through the process than to back away because
But
of
that
the
still
price values.
counts.
Yeah, as long as we can prove that we.
The email we got was one option or both options?
That was one
First
option.
option.
That was just
Okay,
doing.
that's what I thought.
That was just doing the one with
Right.
the appraisals at what we've got. The other option would be to stick within our budget numbers.
And when do we have to have this decided? I mean, is there a
We'd
deadline?
like to move forward today, if possible,
Well-
to move.
Kind of would like to see that other option on paper.
Yeah,
But-
and we can do that. It's just still need to help everybody move through. The two homeowners are very interested in finding out what's going on
Right.
here. So to keep everybody moving forward, we want to do it as expedient as possible. But also want to be as budget conscious as possible moving forward, and trying to utilize the 75% matching money from FEMA as
Right.
best as we possibly can through this process.
Are you leaning one way or the other? You've got a split vote here.
So
I don't
what were
know.
the,
I just,
what
that
were
was
the
just a
numbers?
suggestion.
What were your projected numbers and what they appraised for?
You know?
That was in the, it should have been
That
called
was
for
in-
in the email that I
that
sent
was in
through,
the
but yeah.
email.
I didn't bring specifics
That
back
sounds like
down
it's what
to
about
me.
double though.
It was about a little bit over 20,000 more for each property than what was expected.
I mean, that's just significant.
It is significant. And
That's a problem I'm having. I don't have a-
that's why the suggestion from the people that have done these
I think
grants
we
in the
should help as
past
many people as we can
was
help.
to attempt to make an offer within the
Right.
budget
Right.
constraints, because we believe that the budget numbers are maybe more applicable in this.
Has an offer been made for that, for what
No,
you?
we're waiting for this determination before we.
So you don't know whether they would still, notwithstanding the appraisal, take your number?
Absolutely, yep. It's still, like I said, it's still voluntary. We just need to know what we're going to voluntarily do on our end.
Could the demo price be adjusted anyway to take it away, or is that a firm bid from someone?
The only thing that we could do with the demo price is to see if the
Fire
highway
department
department
would burn it down?
would, or fire department or something would do work on it. We haven't talked about that, but those would be ways to cut money out of that.
Yeah, that's the
Our highway
Our
department's
highway
really
department can do
accepting of all that.
anything.
Got a new excavator, right?
They do a lot of things
They're
like
renting a
that.
bulldozer.
Yeah, didn't we renting a dozer?
I don't think
I don't think so.
And now I get myself in trouble saying that.
Take a 2-inch maple out with it.
I hear they got a dozer.
I mean, I don't know. I think if you're sitting on the house and you don't do it, you always have to
Well, that's what we're thinking is that basically the original number that you see there, the starting point, that's what they're basically going to be offered. So,
That's where I'm leaning.
yeah.
I'd rather see two people benefit than just one.
And that's what we want to
That's
give
kinda-
a chance.
I agree.
Well,
That's-
and we
that's what
went-
it leads to, because why did they get picked and not us?
Right.
We went through a year and a half process or longer to get to this point and to not try.
Right.
And
to
if
do
they
it for
choose not
both
to at that
would
point,
be.
then that's their call, and we
Absolutely, and they knew that from the very beginning when they
That's right.
signed the statement
That's
that they
my
wanted to be
motion.
part of it. It was voluntary. So, I mean, I'll be glad to once we've formulated the new numbers, send that along to you.
That's kind of what I'm leaning.
We do. I'm
good with
wanting. I'm still. Reason why I don't have them today is I'm waiting for FEMA and the state to say thumbs up on how you calculated the.
keep it at the budget and offer to both.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the motion, right?
Mhm.
And a second,
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
So we'll continue to operate within the budget if all possible, and if the first route doesn't come through, and I said I'll share the final numbers once the state says that the calculations are in good order.
And we
Forward.
can choose to do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and pay extra money to make
Yes.
it happen. We could do that.
Yes,
We'd
you could.
rather stay in
But
the
I don't
budget.
think
Yes.
that's going
Yeah.
to
Exactly. Perfect.
be a wise
Yeah,
choice.
and that was in my choices. I was hoping to be able to buy them out for what the budget number is. So that'd be one. Doing one and getting one out of there would be better than nothing.
Right.
And then looking at doing nothing or expending more money out of our pockets would be the last.
Right.
And that would be the same way FEMA would look at it. So, please let me know if you have any questions, and as soon as we have the alternate numbers, I'll give them to you.
Thank you.
If you have any other questions, just let me know and I'll come to another meeting.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Did we cover everything, Beth?
And I've got a couple other things here. Okay, the United Way again sent out a letter asking if we want to participate in the Denim Week, and we've done this in the past. And it's going to be coming up for 2 weeks. It'll be October 16th through the 20th and November 13th through the 16th. And what this is employees pay money to wear jeans to work for those weeks, and then the money that is raised goes to the United Way. So I want to know if it is all right to participate in that again this year.
If the employees pay it, we're not paying it for the employees.
Exactly. It's all employees' contribution.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
0.
And I assuming you want to go with the same we've done in the past at $2 a day, because they're asking for more, and in the past we've always allowed them to use a lesser amount.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And I also got a request just this morning that came in for domestic violence. This is the month for domestic violence, the month of October. And YMCA, and they just handed me this right before I come over, is asking if the commissioners would allow them to use sidewalk chalk to put messages and stuff on the courthouse plaza for domestic violence awareness. and they would ask to do that on October the 17th for that day. I think they've tried to do it in the past a couple times, and both times it's rained the day that they've wanted to do it.
Because we've
So-
approved it.
Yeah, and I think you've
Right.
approved it before,
Right.
so if
And make
they
a
would
motion to
ask.
approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0.
Okay, let's see what else I have here. Just mentioning that I have another resume down here that I will pass out to you to go with your other
Oh.
packs. That's why I had my staff bring over to me a little bit ago. Another one came in this morning, so I'll pass that out. And I think, what, we have 8 before, so that might
Yeah.
make number 9, so just so.
Yeah, a lot of interest in our assistant position in the EMA director's office.
I think that's all I have.
Any news from down south at your conference?
Just the big buzz was community crossings. And who and why and not, and that's about it.
I was at the Mayor's Commissioners Conference when it was released. And
Yeah.
everybody had their phones out saying, I think Huntington total and the cities and the counties got like 3-point-some billion, and Adams
Yeah.
County got quite a bit.
Yeah. It was a great conference, a lot of information disseminated, so Beth was there, and Rick Smith and Yvette. And we had a good representation of Wells County down there, which is always good to see.
Well, we had a regional sewer district meeting. I seen Leon in the back there. Had the homeowners at Timber Ridge Golf Course. Found out there's some properties that have deed restrictions on empty lots that cannot be built on for homes, which we thought they were going to be future sites as possible building sites. So that being said, it's going to lower the total number of units, but it'll increase cost per unit, but overall cost it'll be lower. But we're working on numbers, and hopefully, I think we have another meeting scheduled the last Monday, or first Monday or second Monday of November.
It's in November.
Yeah. So,
Plus, there was a couple of lots in the floodplain, I believe was reported.
right.
Did I- Okay.
Yep. So, that being said, we've got that plan, and we're working toward an end of maybe getting some sort of funding. We've got a lot of feelers out with Matt and Travis, and see if they can direct us and steer us maybe to state revolving loan or some other areas. But it's a big dollar number, so big dollar number for only a few homes. And the city was willing to, sounds like they'll be willing to take the sewage, but not for paying for the collection system, which is normal. So, you have anything else you want to add to that, or
Well,
since you're here?
yeah, sort of. After hearing, hearing the last half an hour of that meeting, I questioned the feasibility of it, the lower number of homes, and that doesn't include the 6 or 7 homes on 250 that could tap into the pressure line.
Right.
That would reduce the number of lots too. But it's going to be pretty expensive per home.
Right.
I don't know.
We're working toward a fix, but it will. We got to have better numbers before we make a decision. So,
Yep.
okay.
Roy, anything else?
No. Beth. Kev, Pam,
No, I'm good, thank you.
Jess. Anyone else in the audience? Or
You know, I'm going to have some questions.
sure.
Community crossings. I know last year you had the 2 bridge projects you just talked about that did, and you had 3 road projects. 2 of them weren't done. Did that affect you not getting money this year?
2 didn't get done.
2 didn't get, I don't think there was
Completed.
still, were they, Josh?
No,
The 500 west and 500 south. Did that have any effect on you guys not getting the funding this year?
Oh, I'm sure some of it probably had to do with that.
Okay, I know there was a lot more.
I'm sure that they look at things all the way through. I guess my biggest problem with this is, why doesn't somebody ask? You know, when something is presented.
It's in that.
Correct. So the question here is, we present the application, you didn't cross a T, but I'm not going to call you on that. Because it's easier for me to throw it over here and look at something that's maybe completed instead of making an additional phone call and saying why. Or to maybe, but, you know, I understand they have a lot of applications and they got to keep things moving, but I still have a problem with it.
There were communities that had their applications thrown out because it wasn't completed properly.
Right, I know that.
I know of others that had
I do
that.
too.
So
I guess that's just my issue.
Couple more.
Yes.
Your 500 West project, I still drive county roads. It doesn't go out of your blood and stuff like that. I noticed it was like we used to do them. Berms are wide, side ditches. 500 South was not. I questioned why the side ditches weren't moved back there. We spent money, like Josh said, to take a bunch of trees out through there. And we're not safe, in my eyes. I mean, you got a 2-foot berm and you drop off into a 3 or 4 foot side ditch. Just questioning why that one wasn't done or stuff was moved back.
Feel free. It had to do with the right-of-ways that we didn't get.
Yeah, there
We
were two particular farmers fought us on right-of-ways, so the right-of-ways were shortened up.
And it was basically do it or lose the money because it was one of the crossings
Yeah,
match.
crossings,
So there wasn't much choice other than to make it fit what we had.
And 500 West, we were able to complete back slopes and everything because we started when crops weren't on. There's a grader out there today and was Thursday finishing back slopes as well. So it's not done.
So it was a right-of-way issue.
It was a
Didn't have
right-of-way.
the right-of-ways to move them back the way they should have been.
Yeah.
Which is why we created the new standard that if we don't have the right-of-ways to start with, you're not a considered
Exactly.
project. in
Yeah,
the
we will
future, but
not, if we
had-
don't have 100% participation, it won't even be considered, rather than in the past X amount of years, the road would be picked and then we're running around trying to collect right-of-ways. And therefore, that causes the problem with 5 South of picking a road that we don't even have right-of-ways on.
Yeah, we assumed when we were going to do this, everybody's going to jump at the opportunity. So that's why it was chosen. And then come to find out, well, not so fast. Not us, not me, as a farmer, to give up an extra 10
How
foot.
much you took, how much it cost to take the trees out. They were huge.
We cleared 2 large woods
Yes.
that, hindsight, I mean, we were clearing those. It was my job to give the orders to clear those in the first 30 days of my employment. So had I done it all different, it would be different. We definitely took out probably 10 foot of woods on both of those woods that we didn't have to.
It was a learning curve for sure for all of us.
Absolutely.
It was one of those projects that was kind of like tossed up in the air last fall, and I caught it in March. And nothing happened between fall and spring.
I mean, and they gave us that window to have 6 weeks to have projects and everything in the
I mean,
hopper.
when was 5 South picked to be last fall, summer?
It was approved in August.
Okay, so it was approved in August, but yet in March I was running around in my first 2 weeks of job getting right-of-ways. So no one from, what'd you say, August to then went and approached any of those farmers. So it wasn't my job at that point.
Well, I'd like to add, I don't want to get on my soapbox, but I'm going to go back about 17 years ago when we started right-of-ways. You're going to like this, John. I remember specifically speaking in meetings where when we were asking for right-of-ways, and Ed, you know all about this, and nobody wanted to offer those up. And so what would happen is I elected to try to get the commissioners at that time. Fine, they don't want to do it. They don't care if their slope is 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 or whatever. Safety was not an issue at that point. They just didn't want to give it up. And we, in good faith, wanted safety, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it kind of came to be that having been on volunteer fire department at the time, way back when, we were looking out for these people. And ultimately, it really didn't matter. They didn't want to give it up. They really weren't concerned about the safety at that point in time. And we could have just moved on with life. But we still tried to maintain that. We continued that. But it's just, in good faith, you try to do things, but sometimes it still doesn't get done. So you're always going to deal with it.
5 South at the end of the day is going to be a good road. It was just, we went around the barn
Right,
to
right.
get in the front door.
Right.
And it won't happen again. Because like
Right.
I said,
Exactly.
week 1, I'm asking for right-of-ways on a project that was approved in August.
Right.
Someone wasn't doing anything from August to March.
Yep. Right.
So,
Tim, no
Chalk that
question?
up for experience.
A couple more.
You've already used 2. You got one more.
South County Line. I know that was Nate's project. I left Nate do that project. I was still here, and we had no berms and side ditches. And I was told that we had a contractor come in and fix that project. Did the county get reimbursed for that as part of the community crossings? And how much did we pay the contractor to fix that project?
we paid $10,000 to have that repaired.
Okay.
And no, we did not get reimbursed.
Because that was after the grant was issued, correct?
I don't believe, it just wasn't in the grant.
Yeah. So they didn't pay for anything that wasn't initially stated in the grant.
Okay. And just another thing, ADA, I know when Toby was still on 15, we didn't do one. I know there wasn't one done last year. Are we doing one
We
this year?
rolled it over, and that's what they were talking about, Roger.
Okay.
That's the funding going into, it's not going to be a physical thing. It's going
Project.
to be the updating of the website,
The
because
website.
that's something that we're very liable for that people hadn't even realized
Because
until
I think
recently.
we're required to do them every year, are we not?
We did. And
Okay.
They're auditing,
did.
what we're doing is our whole auditing of our data system, so all of our public presence. Your ADA compliance plan is one of your facilities, and so anytime Bonnie's doing work on the facility, she's making updates to the facility. So if you're changing doorways or frames, you're doing updates there. Your venues, so last year and early this spring, what we did is our public announcements. When we're doing legal advertisements, there's certain disclaimers in the ADA an ADA email, applications, grievance procedures, some of that's been updated in the last year. We had approved purchasing some ADA warning, tactile
Ramps,
warning for
too.
ramps, so that we can try to turn those over to the public as ramps get replaced. There just hasn't been projects in the towns to try to incorporate those into the actual physical, into the field. And then the other part is our digital presence, your websites, your media, broadcasts. So what we need to do is try to make sure we audit that presence. We have it, but how is that accessible to people who are at their home trying to access it, whether they're blind or disabled? How do we try to make that compliant with the software that they use to get into the digital world? So that's what we're trying to do this year. With the dollar amount, it's limiting as far as what true ADA projects you can do. I've been in contact just last week talking to the state about what we need to report to them as far as our projects. And there's been a big push for Title VI, which Roy, I know you've been our Title VI coordinator, so that's been a recent push for reporting. But for us, unfortunately, because we're so spread out, we have all of whopping, I think, 28 ADA ramps in our county jurisdiction, or we even have. But often they're connected to sidewalks that property owners don't even want replaced. So there's sort of an odd dilemma there. So what we're trying to do is work on the areas that make sense and maybe haven't been highly prioritized, certainly the website, something we use every day, but we haven't looked at it from that perspective. So one, broadening that plan out, and then also doing those sort of things that make sense. So we'll keep making strides.
I want to also comment one more time on the 12th South that Ed brought up. It wasn't done properly to start with, and when I started in March, probably 75% of the employees came to me and said, "You need to go drive 12 South, that's not right." We all knew it wasn't right from the beginning. So from the superintendent at that point down, it was a bunch of finger pointing, and no one, whether it was Nate's project or whose project, no one jumped in on the front end to make sure that it was done right. So I just want to say, yeah, it cost us more money, but moving forward, there's a lot more open line of communication, that we're not going to have a $10,000 bill on the back end. You know, I'm involved, he's involved, Jared's involved, we're driving it rather than, hey, that's Nate's project, I'm just not going to go down that mile of road for 2 months and let it sink. So I want to say that problems with 5 West, 5 South, and 12 South are rectified.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Anybody else?
Question on right of ways.
Yep.
There's always a question where you got 60 feet, 40 feet, 35 feet. The question is it 40 feet on most of the roads except for maybe what used to be state roads?
It varies anywhere from nothing to probably 30 to 32 would be an average. What do you think, Nate?
So there's no standard the county has
We have a standard
We've created
we
a
would
standard.
like.
What now?
We have a standard now that we are requesting for.
Okay.
And in fact, that standard actually dates all the way back to 1969. But most of the road right-of-ways are what they were when they were created in 1887 or whenever the road was originally created. And that's prior to most motorized vehicles. So we're trying to get the right-of-way back up to the 20th century, a little bit 21st.
Well, it should be 40 feet.
Well, and that's the state statute for roads built long after ours were, but we'd like to see at least right now what we're moving toward is a standard right of way of 60 feet. We've got standard right of way of 60 feet. That's 30 foot each side, and it's essentially right of way easement that allows us to get 2 10-foot lanes. The side ditches moved back, a safe berm, so if someone needs to get off the road to allow an agricultural vehicle by, it's still 2-way roads. We need to keep them from getting into side ditches and open ditches.
Well, I think it's a good idea. Look at the size of this machinery.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
They just get bigger
We
and
take our
bigger.
combine down the road and.
Correct.
I watched a guy stop the other day on 200 East, which is a nice wide road, to squeeze between 2 poles that happened to be across from one another in each side ditch.
Yep.
And it was all he could do to get through it. And there wasn't anybody else going with him at the time. But, I mean, if we don't keep them back, and the farmers need that as much as anybody, and I hope that they understand that going forward, that they're willing to
Well,
cooperate.
many farmers don't understand it, but as a farmer, I understand it, and I think the county should say, this is our right of way,
Right.
this is where it's going to be, but I don't know. what you
Unfortunately, we
guys
can't take the right of way and make it 60 feet. They have, as an owner of the property, have to be willing to grant us a wider right of way
Well, we
than
won't
what's
be
been
chip and
dedicated.
sealing
Don't you
any
have
until
the
then.
right of way, say you want to put in a major road someplace, you have that right, don't you?
Eminent
Tell
domain.
them.
Eminent domain.
Yeah, you
Eminent-
go.
You
That's
wanna
our-
go there?
You have that right of way, that's your right of way, eminent domain.
No. The eminent domain is the procedure by which you
You
get a
take
right of
it.
way.
Okay.
You just don't say it's my right of way. The history is interesting. There was a case in the last couple of months that I read that said if you don't have a written right of way, if you don't have a right of way established by a grant, then your right of way is limited to what's paid. And then when we were doing, 5 West or something, we were dealing with the feds on trying to get a right-of-way from them, which we ultimately did do. I mean, it's 40 pages long, but Nate says, he's got a right-of-way Bible that Larry Owen had. And so he's got a book, and you can look up and see what the right-of-way was. And in doing that, there was a statute maybe in 1920 or so that said, commissioners, you guys figure out and declare what the right-of-way is. That sounds pretty cool. And then there was another statute that, to improve a road, the landowners would petition to the commissioners. So we got some documentation. It's in the commissioners' record books at the courthouse where a property owner at the time in 1917 or whatever, they filed a petition with the commissioners to improve the road. So they have a study done, and as a result of that, they determine what that right-of-way is. But when you're establishing it piece by piece, petition by petition, it's like ordering a pizza. You're going to have all kinds of a mishmash. And so, since I've been county attorney,
wanted to establish a uniform right-of-way, but you just don't declare it and make it happen. In one of the right-of-ways near the Allen County line, the Allen County attorney says, well, what are you going to pay for the right-of-way? And I said, we don't pay for right-of-ways. If you want your road improved, you're going to contribute that. If we had to pay for the right-of-way, that's more money going to things other than paving and grading, and we're going to get less roads done. And if we've got enough property owners that are interested in a road conversion that are willing to donate it, they've explained that's the policy, is we're not going to do it unless all your property owners. It probably is more effective. If you want your road paved, you're probably going to have as much influence on your neighbor than a letter from the county engineer or county attorney. You know, the neighbors are going to say, hey, we need to get this road paved, let's all contribute. What you're contributing is that. But as you say, you can go out there and my daughter they sold their home in town and built a new one, but they lived in a home out in the country. And when I drive out there, the farmers farm into the pavement, and that's okay. I lived on a farm, and farmers were different. Some would pave as close, or would grow as crops. They're going around telephone poles and this and that, and they just have to realize that
Right.
part of the problem with
Sense there at all.
part of the problem with the road is it's just not what's paved. It's the drainage that keeps the road.
It's a drainage, right?
Yeah, and that's why we're in the right-of-way documents. We're trying to put in there that you don't screw up the grade.
There's a ditch on 9 South that we redone. I think Ed's redid it a dozen times. We redid it this spring, and the second the planter drops in the ground, in and out of the telephone.
Is that Wesley Snowball's kiss?
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Let's get it over and done.
That kind of thing ought to be solved.
All right.
Motion to adjourn. Did we already do that?
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.